Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another week of our Paranormal Research Symposium weekly speaker series. My name is Alex Matsuo, and I'm going to be your host for this evening. I do apologize for my absence last week. I was a bit under the weather and didn't really have a voice to talk with. So huge thank you to Whitney for taking over for me and for stepping in. I really appreciated it. I watched last week's interview anyway, even though I wasn't able to really participate. But yeah, so thank you so much to Whitney for covering for me last night. I am back about 95% better. I still have that nagging cough that comes with chest congestions. But anyway, speaking of, we'll go ahead and get rolling. So apologies for starting a few minutes late. We were having some technical difficulties with our guests, John Sabol and Mary Becker this evening. So with that note, tonight's show, we will be able to hear them, but we won't be able to see them. So that's all the more reason, which leads me into all the more reason you should get your tickets for the Paranormal Research Symposium. Tickets are now available for $50, and you can see John and Mary in person in the flesh, and you can actually see what they look like if you don't know them already. But yeah, tickets are now available. You can visit associationofparanormalstudy.com to grab your ticket, and I'll turn the ticker off so y'all can actually see what's going on there. But yeah, so we are expecting to sell out with the current pace that tickets are being sold. We will more than likely sell out. So that's going to be a very interesting situation. I'll be interested in seeing how that all plays out. But yeah, so if you don't have your tickets yet, you may want to, go ahead and grab them. So let's see. And by the way, this is an interactive show. So if you have questions or comments for John and Mary this evening, please post them in the chat and let us know what you want to know more about. Speaking of, we got Megan on Facebook saying hi, ghost. And then we have Crystal. Hi, everyone. So thanks for joining us, Crystal. For those of you who are watching this evening, type in the chat and let me know where you are watching from. I am always really interested in seeing where everyone is tuning in from. And while I wait for y'all's responses, also another exciting bit of news. Let's see. Let me hide Crystal's comment. I love you still, Crystal. The schedule is now available. So if you want to know exactly what to expect at the Paranormal Research Symposium next month, you can go ahead and just head on over to associationofparanormalstudy.com, click on Paranormal Research Symposium, and you will see a link for the schedule. So you can see what to expect now. We are doing panels, workshops, and presentations for the symposium. So it's very, very exciting stuff. All right. So, got a few more in the comments. Oh, looks like we got Alabama watching tonight. And we also have Mooresville, North Carolina. Awesome. Yeah, so if you're just now joining the chat, please feel free to type in the chat and let me know where you are tuning in from. All right. So, let's see. Yeah, so I'm really excited about tonight's guests. I've known John Sabol and Mary Becker for quite a while. Actually, John's research has been very formative in my own research and my own development as a researcher and investigator. So anytime I get a chance to interact with John, it's always a huge honor, and I'm always really excited to talk to him. And there's never a dull day with a conversation with John and Mary. So without further ado, like I said, we're going to hear them, but we won't see them this evening unless the camera magically starts working. Although if everyone manifests their energy into making John and Mary's camera working, maybe we can make something happen. But I'm going to go ahead and bring them onto the stage so we can get started with this conversation. So, all right, John and Mary, welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Hi, Alex. This is weird that we're invisible.
Yes.
We're ghosts.
It is interesting.
I am an absent presence.
We're going to make it work tonight. We're going to make it work.
Yes. It's the ghost in the house. This is an old Victorian, and it's very haunted. So We've
I've
had
been there.
interruptions before.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
you
right.
stayed here one night. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
did. It was me and Robin. We shared a
Yes.
room, and
Yeah.
Yes.
it was a very active evening after the lights went off. Robin and I were like, okay. Definitely had things going on there. So I would not be surprised that the ghosts are
I
messing
hope
with
we
you
don't
there.
have our usual visitors tonight.
The little girl or the
No, the bats.
Oh no.
Oh.
Well, that's good that we're in dark.
Yes.
Nobody can see it.
Yes, because Mary will start screaming if they come down from the attic.
Nice.
Yes.
Nice.
So let's get serious here. Let's get serious here. Okay.
Totally.
Go
Let's
ahead,
totally get
Alex.
serious.
Shoot away.
All right. Well, I always ask everyone the same question to start off with, and for everyone who may not know who you are, which is a shame because if they don't know, they're going to know after tonight. But if you two could introduce yourselves, just give us an idea of like who you are and what brought you to this moment right now.
Ladies first, Mary.
Oh, thanks. Hi, my name is Mary Becker. What brought me to this moment? Let's see. I guess having hauntings, seeing ghosts since I was a child, just like a lot of people. Then I met up with John, and then we just started collaborating together with his ideas and my ideas, and we've collaborated on a couple of books together. I like to think of John as the idea man, and then I just carry out whatever he wants done. So that's fine with me. I like that role. And I, of course, suggest things and help him with his books and everything. And I sometimes, I'll say, well, wait, I don't quite understand this. How do you mean that? Because he's such a well-educated man that sometimes it's like, okay, you got to bring it down a couple notches, John, so we can all understand. John, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, once upon a time, long, long ago, in a world long, long past, before cell phones, before television, before social media influencers, everything, I used to play in the ruins of anthracite coal busts. That's where I got my interest in archaeology, and that's where I honed my acting skills, because we had nothing else to do, just to play in these abandoned buildings up in northeastern Pennsylvania that were once really important to the industry back in the early 20s, 30s, and 40s. But by the time I was a little boy, they were all abandoned. And so I come from a long tradition of coal miners in coal mining towns. My grandparents came from Slovakia on one side. So I had all this time on my hands to just really get myself involved in building all these different scenarios and all these abandoned coal breakers and coal mines. And I listened to the stories at night in a lot of these patch towns about the ghosts of the coal mines. So that kind of developed my interest at a very, very early age in the idea of hauntings and the idea of ruins. And I came from a town that was really well known. They had all of these ethnic churches, all these ethnic traditions every summer. So that kind of developed my interest in anthropology. So when I went to college and university and to post-grad work and to graduate school, I got my degrees in archaeology and anthropology and sociology and history. And then I traveled down and I taught for about 12 years in Mexico. And I was right there at the right time in the early 80s, because every movie was being filmed in Mexico. So I got a great shot at I got a great shot at all the scripts that came down with those film productions, and that got me into all these movies, beginning with Dune in '84 and all the way up to 1991. So I had an agent, and she was very, very well known, and she got me into auditions for all of these different movies, and I usually got the part that I auditioned for. So that was really good. So I've been in a lot of movies. So what I do is I use that combination of archaeology, anthropology, and performance practices in what I call performance excavations. What I've been doing actually for about 40 years, because actually my first archaeological excavation was in Winchester, England, back in 1969. And right then and there, things started to happen between what I was digging up and what was coming out of the ground. And not all of it was objects. So that's basically a little introduction to who I am.
Nice.
I could go on, but I don't want to monopolize Mary's time here.
Hey, I didn't say everything, but
Yes.
Go ahead, John,
Go ahead.
or go ahead, Alex.
Go ahead, Alex.
Oh yeah, no, you're. I came into tonight. No, I'm like, I'm probably just going to be turning on the mic and just say, okay, and go.
Yes, because once I start talking, I don't stop. Yes.
Let's see. Brad says hello from Richmond.
Yes.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Brad.
Yes.
No, we can't hear him, right? Nope, can't hear him.
No.
But anyway, so what I do is, like I said, performance excavation. So that's based on an archaeological, anthropological, and performance theory. And it uses a particular methodological proposal and specific execution of specific investigative practices as an assembled, relational, and organized fieldwork operation. So I just finished this latest book, and it's about 200 and some pages. Mary's working on the edit on it right now, and I want to have it ready for the conference because it lays out the theory, the methodology, and the application of performance excavation. So I really want to introduce that book and those ideas for the conference, because this is an ongoing developmental thing. I always try to tweak it as we're doing investigations, and I'm learning by all the errors I've committed in the past, and I try to eliminate those errors, but at the same time gaining more insight to really what is going on at these haunted locations. So this is really the culmination of about 40 years of field work coming now at this point, at this time. This is not saying this is the end of all ends, but this is what I have right now. And just by presenting it to people, their feedback is going to even help us even more, to tweak it even more, to make it even better and better and better and better. So that's why I want to get this book out, and I want to introduce these ideas of the theory and the methodology and the background so people could see what we're trying to do. And I love to get all kinds of feedback for them, because that's how I learn because I'm so involved in this stuff. I kind of miss little points that other people could really point out to me. And I say, oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. I'm going to introduce that the next time we go out in the field.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Well, that's exciting. I mean, I've known about the ghost excavation method for a long time, and got to do kind of like a light version of a scenario with you all years ago.
That scenario, I did not. If that's the one in Gettysburg, I had no control over that.
Mm-hmm.
I almost ended that because the day we were going to do that, I said, that's it. I'm not doing it because you didn't follow my procedures, what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt bad for the man who put all this money into renting this property. And I said, okay, I'll go ahead and do it. But it was not at all what we usually do. It was a little bit, but not that much. So I learned from that experience, and I will never do anything unless I have, unless the people who are doing it with me agree, first of all, of what I'm doing, and then we could tweak it when we have interactions and talking about it. But I lost complete control of that, and I asked him for certain things to be done in a certain way, and they came up with other ideas on the last day, and I just said, okay, I'll do it. But because the guy put a lot of money into to renting this property, so I said, okay, I'll do it. But this is not really what we usually do.
Right. Yeah, and I remember we did another variation of it during the conference at Bedford Springs. I want to
Yeah.
say it was
Well,
20
this is very, very interesting because now they won't let Mary do
tours.
the tours with me, so I'm doing it myself. So I'm tweaking. This is really great because I'm really getting really into what's really going on there, and I specifically focus on the Victorian and the Edwardian period, and I
Ooh.
look at the patina that's still in the hotel, the pastness of the present in the hotel, specifically the architectural feature of the dual staircase and the photographs from the 1880s, 1890s, 1900s that are distributed throughout the hotel. And what I'm finding by using the guest on the tour as my quote guinea pigs, but they love to do it. They love to do it. I says there's a direct relationship between what's going on those dual staircases and those photographs that are on those walls from the 1880s and 1890s. So I'm combining the idea of the etiquette of the use of the dual staircase, where men would go up one side and the ladies would go up the other side. The importance of women at the Springs in that time period, where the ladies ruled. And so they controlled all the activities. And I'm using the camera because what I'm saying, these are not ghosts who are stuck here because they died, they drowned in the pool, or they fell down the stairs and broke their necks or anything like that. These are guests who in life kept on coming back to the hotel time and time and time again. And after they pass, some of them come back to relive those very unique memories. And I'm only using the camera to see if we are recording those individuals who come back. So what I have is all of those individuals in those photographs are, again, I have 62 of them who are repeated time and time and time again in these photographs. I have their names. I have their biographies. I'm searching in the hotel's ledgers for their room numbers, because the use of photography and the use of a camera for those individuals was very important, because not everybody during that time period could afford to have their photographs taken. So it was very expensive. So those individuals that are in those photographs that are distributed throughout the hotel on those walls are the upper classes of guests who came to the Springs who could afford to have their photographs taken. And what I'm finding is that by using the camera, they know what a camera is. And if they come back to relive those experiences of their great times at the Springs during that period, and they see me or the guests taking that photographic pose of using a camera, what we are getting is individuals that we can identify from those photographs from the 1880s, 1890s, posing for the camera. And I've got, I would say, 20 or 30 photographs of those individuals who are depicted in the photographs from the 1880s and 1890s in the history of the hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I mean, it's increasing more and more and more so. I just got one about 2 or 3 days ago, a photograph that she said, well, down this hallway, we took a photograph looking down the hallway toward the Frontier Tavern area. And she said, it took me a year to send you this photograph because I was afraid you were going to debunk it. But I said, I got to send it. I got to send it. So she sent it to me, and I'm looking at it, and I don't see anything. But then we zoomed in on it, and all the way down the end of the hallway is a girl in Victorian dress with her little hair up on a bone, and she's looking directly at the person taking the photograph. And what's behind her that this lady who took the photograph didn't see, but we got when we zoomed in on the photo, was an individual behind this little girl, perhaps her father, also in Victorian dress, leading against the entrance to the Frontier Tavern with this bushy mustache and these wire-rimmed glasses and this hat on, also looking at the photographer. I mean, very, very distinct. So I'm trying to identify who they are in the photographs that are on the wall distributed throughout the hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, this is increasing. The more we take the photographs, the more images we are getting.
And I would think the repeating of the stories.
Yeah, the
would
stories.
also-
Yes.
Of
Absolutely.
these
Yes.
people. Mhm.
And there's just certain spots of the hotel. We have a photograph all the way down in the Frontier Tavern that is a photograph of 1895 of the Pennsylvania Bar Association. So when I started to do these tours again, just by myself about 3 years ago, I would ask the tour guests, do we have any lawyers or anybody who works in a law office? Because I'm going to end the tour at this photograph of the 1895 photograph of the Pennsylvania Bar Association. So that would be a good memory of you taking that photograph, that you would remember the tour, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once we start doing that time and time and time again, weird things started to happen in the photographs. So I said, whoa, wait a minute, let's do it with all the guests. So now every time I would have a tour, which might be like 10 times a week or more, I would take them down. They take photographs, and more things are developing when people take a photograph of that 1895 photograph. And what really came to a crescendo is we had one lady take a photograph. She took the first photograph. I said, just take a photograph. She takes a photograph, and the photograph immediately, the photo blackened the whole frame of the Pennsylvania Bar Association in the photo. And I said,
What?
zoom in on that blackness. We zoomed in on it, and there were two people in Victorian dress in that blackness facing the camera as she was taking the photograph, and they were holding hands.
Wow.
Solid figures. I mean, and I'm getting people send me these photos. I must have maybe about 15 or 20 of those photographs where this imagery is increasing just by using the camera and nothing else, because they knew what a camera was, and they
Right.
loved to be photographed because it was a symbol of their high social status at the Springs.
Yeah.
So they pose when we take a photograph today.
I love that. Looks like we got a question from Philip. Philip says, with pictures, do you think people can see different things in photos? Like someone can see something that another doesn't?
Yes, exactly. This is what I was saying. She didn't. The lady that just sent me this like 3 or 4 days ago said there's a little girl there that she saw, but she didn't see the man behind her. So we tweaked the photo by zooming in on it and kind of really refining it with contrast a little bit. And there he was right behind her. So yes, we saw the two, but she, the one that sent us, only saw the little girl. So yes, I
Interesting.
believe that.
Nice. So we did get a comment in the YouTube chat, and I have a feeling I know what you're going to say to this, but I wanted you to read this comment and get your and hear your response to this. So John Woodmass says, they're not ghosts, John. There are periods of in time you're seeing.
If there are periods in time in seeing, why are they acting exactly when we're taking the photograph? Because on the tour, I say, if there's nobody around, take a photograph in this space, because people have gotten images of individuals in the photographs. So on the tour, some people say, can I take a photograph? Sure, take a photograph. They take a photograph, and by looking at the expression on the photographer's face, I know they got something. And when we look in the photograph and zoom in, there is the image of a person.
Nice.
Now, the second thing to say that we have a photograph taken long ago by my friend Mike. Remember Mike?
Mike
Stevenson.
Yeah, Mike.
That passed not too long ago. Well, Mike, we were doing an investigation in the indoor pool, a very unique experience for guests in 1905, because it was the first indoor heated Olympic size for that time pool in the United States. So guests would come in life time and time and time again to that unique experience of going into that indoor pool. So I believe that guests come back. So these are not ghosts, for example. These are revenants. They're not stuck there. They come back to recall their memory. So Mike took a photograph, and in that photograph, not at today's entrance to the pool, but at the original entrance to the pool back in 1905, and right in front of it was the dual staircase. Mike took a photograph of that whole back section, and what he got was the image of one man whom we have identified. But what is interesting is that to his back, that door in that photograph is a glass door, which is the glass door today. But in the 1905 photograph, it was a solid door. So for me, that means that he was right there when we took the photograph. And he was not an image or an imprint from 1905, because to his back would be a solid door and not the glass door that we see there today. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me. Brad says this is fascinating stuff. So you got Brad's approval.
No,
So.
I've identified who that person is. His name is Captain Barbour, Barbour. He was one of the chaperones. He's on a photograph on the wall right where the original entrance was. And Captain Barb, and he has a bushy mustache in Mike's photo. He has these really piercing eyes, and he has this cap on and a vest on that looks like some part of a uniform. Well, I know his name. I know his bio. He was only a chaperone during the summertime, because in 1905, the place closed down because they didn't have any central heat. So his other job was he worked as a part of the militia, Washington, D.C. militia. So is that cap and that vest part of his militia uniform? And as that chaperone, was he showing his authority of being a chaperone in charge of taking care of individuals at the Springs? And what is interesting is his pose in that 1892 photograph. He has his head tilted a little bit to the left in the photograph from 1892. In the photograph that Mike took 9 years ago, his head is tilted just like that as well, a little bit to the left. Now, what is also interesting in that photograph, he has his right foot on a small planter, looking down toward where we were taking the photograph. We did not see that planter before we took the photograph. It's in the photograph. And when we see it in the photograph, we look up, it's not there. In 9 years, I've never seen it except in that photograph that Mike took. The planter. Oh, wow. Yes.
Huh. You always capture the most awesome evidence, or great. You get great data. I'm always really impressed with what you're able to capture.
Especially we get this sonic stratigraphy, and we got a lot of that at Burnside Bridge. The different layers of presence that post-date the Civil War and predate the Civil War in the Battle of Antietam, all in the same sound. So we're getting sound marks of the Civil War, but we're getting sound marks that are more contemporary in that same recording of crickets chirping. And we hear sounds of men in battle, and we hear crickets chirping. Well, the crickets wouldn't be chirping during the battle because the sound would make them say there's a predator or something coming, so they would stop chirping.
Yep. They would have stopped, and they would have gotten out of the area. So
exactly.
You're absolutely right.
That to me is what was there presently in the present day. But we got the sounds of men fighting, and you can hear them yelling and screaming, and you could hear rifle fire going on, all kind of neat things. And that was after I organized at the 11th Connecticut Monument. I got a recording of a specific bugle call that ordered to men to assemble for roll call. And then we did the roll call of all 39 soldiers of the 11th Connecticut who died during that first assault toward Burnside Bridge. And we got responses from some of those individuals. I was playing one of the officers. I was dressed as the officer. And we got a roll call, especially from that Private Alvin Flint. And he didn't say present. What he said was, I. Now, Alvin Flint died during the first assault. He was 18 years old when he died.
Yeah.
So that was a frightened little boy who did that. And then we got a voice between the pauses between the roll call. And we got a voice that came out that said, "Are you Stedman?" I said, who's Stedman? Who's Stedman? He's not on the list of the 39. And so I did some more research, and I found out that Colonel Kingsbury, the head of the 11th Connecticut, died during the first assault, and a Major Stedman replaced Kingsbury. And so somebody thought I was Stedman because I was doing the roll call. And we did not know that before I did the additional research.
And that just offers more credibility to the work that you're doing right there. So,
Yes.
yeah, Brad says, I heard some of these recordings, incredible. I would have to agree. I've heard some of these too. And it's hard to, you can't discount them. I mean, they're, and I think the most important thing that I want to emphasize to people is like these recordings, they're intelligent responses, they're conscious, they're aware. And yeah, they're responsive. And I think a lot of them, I mean, for those of you who follow the EVP scale, definitely class A. Like I didn't have to listen to it over and over again to try to make out what was being said when I heard these recordings. It was very much, yes, I could hear Alvin Flynn say I could hear, are you Stedman? So it was very, they're very clear. It's like somebody's right there talking.
Mary will tell you she read a letter from one of the surgeons who survived the battle, but so she read it right at that 11 Connecticut monument, and it's a letter that he got from his wife, and she was reading it. Go ahead, Mary.
Oh, okay. So what I did was I read it very passionately. Yes, very emotionally, because I read it as his wife would have written it to him, and he was upset because he lost a lock of her hair that he had tucked, I believe, in the Bible. It's been a while. I haven't looked at my research, but I believe it was in the Bible.
Yeah.
And also, I was reading about home and things like that. And then as I was speaking, now we could not hear it. It wasn't until we went back and replayed it. Then you could hear these soldiers singing behind me. And one of the words was home that they said at the end.
Yeah, they were singing about home as Mary was saying the word home in the letter.
Yeah. So it was like.
So that is not an imprint.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely not.
And it sounded like men.
Yeah,
singing.
They were men singing. Yes. And while she was doing that, I mean, we were out of the scene because I don't want to be anywhere in the scene. So we were behind it, but we had the cameras focused on her doing that. And the cameras were being moved. Somebody was moving the cameras. We saw them move physically.
Yeah.
They were on a tripod, but they were being moved. Like somebody picked them up and moved them a little bit to the space, and there was nobody there. And we heard rustling in the brush behind her before she started to read the letter.
Hear coyotes in the background. And I thought, well, that's weird while I'm reading the letter. So I'm trying to concentrate, because while you're doing this, you're acting to something you can't see, but other people are hearing or seeing or sensing or sense of smell. And you're reacting to it. So you're hearing everybody saying, hey, this is what's going on. And you're trying to react to it, but stay in character. Right. And then you have to speak slowly. You cannot speak quickly, because the response, usually when you'll hear something respond, it's a little slower than how we speak.
Now, what I look at this is we're not seeing them do this, or we don't hear them saying something or things like that. So I look at it as I'm an actor in the scene,
right?
And in front of me or behind me, and behind me is the green screen. So I'm acting knowing that behind me there's the green screen, and that's the past appearing to us, but we don't see it when we're live acting. Does that make sense?
Yeah, we're going by, people have headsets on and they're listening to audio while what's that called? I can't think right now. But they're listening to the audio live feed, I guess is what it is.
Yeah, we have people
and that's how they're saying, for example, I'm going to go to another place, to the Knickerbocker, for example. When I was playing with the children, I was posing as like a nanny, I guess you want to call it, and playing hide and seek with these children. And as I was, people, it was live streamed actually on camera to, whoever watches Knickerbocker
Hotel
up
in Limesville, Pennsylvania.
And people were hearing children while I was speaking. Well, I couldn't hear them. And people that were there out of the scene were also hearing these children as well. And as we played that back, you could hear them. Like I said, okay, well, let's do a counting game. So I counted slowly from 1 to 10. And while I was counting 1 to 10, you could hear a childlike voice counting 10 backwards, 10, 9, 8, while I was saying 1, 2, 3.
And while you were going forward.
And and then there was one that really liked saying 5 a lot.
Yeah,
so I got to
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, and then you could hear 5, 5 by a child's voice.
Yes.
So it was very
And she was doing that in the children's room on the 3rd floor of the
Yeah.
Knickerbocker Hotel, of the original owners of the hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Dang.
And Mike was in this one room. Mike was in this one room because we were sequestered there for about 10 days straight, and we just played guest of the hotel and did these scenarios and just kept on recording.
Exhausting.
Yes, and Mike was in this one room, and he woke up the next day, and we were all down to breakfast, and I'm saying, Mike, man, you look like you didn't sleep all night. And he said, I just felt like I was, somebody was hitting me in my stomach and stuff like that. So we asked the owner of the hotel, and she said, well, there was a famous boxer who stayed in Mike's room.
Oh my gosh.
He said he felt like he was being punched.
Being punched.
And who was it? It was somebody famous.
Yeah, it was some famous boxer. John L. Sullivan.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Somebody like that. Mm-hmm.
And he stayed in that room, and he said, yeah, like somebody was punching me in the stomach. And then we had this guy who was a fancy man. He was always dressed up
a dandy.
He was all dressed up, always fancy. And he'd always be walking around the hotel with a dog.
Oh, love it.
Yes. And all of a sudden, we're doing a scene, and all of a sudden we hear this dog barking all the time in this one room. And we find out that's the room that this guy stayed at with this dog. So I don't know how that is. That has to be, they're responding to what we're doing. And that's the whole idea. I'm going to talk about that theory at the conference. So I'm going to talk about things that I can't show you some of the things I'm going to show you because you can't see us, but I'm going to bring those exhibits to the show where I can show you that we work with architectural stage sets. And so usually on a paranormal investigation, they're doing surface scans and surface measurements. This architectural stage set is we're going down into different layers through time, and each layer is a part of a socio-temporal order, a particular society at a particular time that has ordered activities, each layer of presence. So instead of just doing a scan horizontally on the surface, we're going down vertically through different layers of memory and experience to those particular socio-temporal orders of memory and experience. And we're performing scenarios that are part of memory activism. And we're looking for a contextual response that would represent memory activation, responding to what we were doing to recall their memory. So we got perfect context all the time in layerings of different functionalities and presences and time periods in the history of a location below the normal horizontal surface.
Nice. That's amazing. So, John and Mary, what do you want people to take away from your presentation during the symposium? Like, what do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to listen to what we're saying, and and I want them to really focus on what we're saying, and I want them to tweak everything we're doing. If they don't agree with something, I want them to tell me why and how to make that by tweaking it, making it better. I love people to react to what we're doing because they get really interesting questions that we probably were so involved in this that maybe we're just forgetting and we don't think about. So this is what I do on all the tours. I always ask for responses during the tours. When I say something, they say, well, wait a minute, why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? So that's what I love. I love to present my decades of research that I've been tweaking myself, but this is me and Mary tweaking it. I love when I get responses from people who hear what we're doing, and then they don't just brush it off and say, well, I don't agree with that because you're not doing this or you're not doing that. I want them to react to what we're doing and how they feel they can make what we're doing better, all for the benefit of the importance of what's going on at these sites, because I believe this is my central premise. We will never produce a meaningful answer to what occurs at a haunted location if our investigative practices have not enabled us to construct relevant questions. So I love for them to question what we're doing, but give us reasons why they're questioning it and how we can do it better.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Nice. All right, everyone. Let's see. If you have any questions or comments for John, feel free to post them in the chat. Let's see. Brad just made me realize I need to shift the schedule just a little bit because you have a very eager audience member who wants to go. So I'm probably gonna shift Brad's slots so that he can go to your presentation, John.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
know.
I saw
We
that.
were-
I said, wait a minute, me and Brad competing. Come on.
And I wanted to see Brad's
Yeah,
presentation.
exactly. I'm there to learn too from other people. So
Right,
I want to
right.
see people who I want to see and say, wait a minute, me and Brad are talking at the same time.
I know. I need it. That was like V2. So yeah, definitely gonna shift the schedule just a smidge so that, because I was like, wait a minute, why did I
Alex,
do that?
I have a favor. I have my daughter coming up from Austin,
Oh, nice.
and she wants to come to the conference. So I says maybe you can help Alex out a little bit, and then you can attend some of the speakers.
Yes, we need volunteers. Yes.
So she'll be up here like the Thursday before the Friday of the conference.
Perfect.
So we'll be
All right.
down there, and I'll tell her to just go to see you and to whatever you want her to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll message you and Mary just the form just so we have her information in there. But yeah, definitely. We can always
there
use
you
a little
go.
extra help.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Mary's
Oh,
she
hi,
writes that. Yeah.
Abby. Tell Abby I say hello and that I love her and I hope she's
Yeah,
doing well. I haven't seen anything about her on Facebook lately.
She's a lot. She's a young lady now.
Yeah, she is. She's grown.
Growing up. Nice. All right. Awesome. Let's see. I'm just going through, looking for if anyone has any questions, feel free to submit them. Cool. Yeah. So John, John and Mary, I have to ask, because it's also been a while since we've had a chance to just sit and chat. What do you think of the current paranormal investigation landscape right now?
I think since COVID, it's just changed.
Yeah.
It's actually we've tried to put together some investigations, but it's like they keep falling through, and it's not on our end. It's usually on the other end, because I think when we start showing how detailed we are, they step back. I don't know what it is.
But no, it's such fun. I mean, it's really fun.
I don't think they realize how it's interactive if they have guests come to, in particular, this one hotel, and won't name the name, but this one particular hotel that is considered haunted. And we had everything all laid out. We told him, and then he was like, oh no, they're not going to like that. My guests aren't going to like that. Yes. And I'm like, but it's going to be like theater, and they can be a part of it or not.
Yeah, but this hotel is like 3 stories, and every room had a different theme in it. It was only about 20 miles from here. We had the investigators ready. And then I says, we're going to need 1 or 2 rooms for them to stay overnight. And they said, no.
Oh, yeah,
no,
that too.
because we only have a certain number of rooms and that's going to take away from my profit.
So anyway,
And then
how do you think that?
Yeah, and then I said, well, we're going to have
now?
pizza and stuff like that for the guests.
Well, I didn't want to get in all that.
And he said, oh no, these are sophisticates who come from the Pittsburgh area and they would rather dine in a restaurant. Well, they're not the kind of guys then or people who want to go on this type of investigation.
Right.
Yes,
My
that was
God.
we had it all planned. And I said, nope, because we get nothing for all of this work because he gets like 90% of the profit and we get, so
maybe for gas.
yeah,
maybe.
for gas. That's
Maybe
it. I
a-
says, no.
maybe a meal.
I would have to put up all the guests in this house. I would have to feed them. I would have to do all of that. And then we have to drive up there and come back and drive up there again. And we're not getting anything out of it. I mean, you got to have a little compromise there between the scene. Now, I really, this is my philosophy. What we do, and what we've been doing, this is important, is not just another night on the other side of life.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Hunter, which means what I see, or I don't know how it is currently because I haven't been out with a lot of paranormal investigations today, but what I see is basically everybody's doing the same thing at all sites, irregardless of cultural variability, social variability, ethnic variability, language variations, and all of that kind of stuff. This is what we do is specifically geared to a particular order of presence that incorporates all of that stuff, ethnicities, language, social structure, all of these things. And what I see is just this idea of paranormality applied to all the sites on a similar investigative basis. They do the same thing at all the sites. And I don't agree with the use of all this tech tools that they're using. And I was going to show you a photograph to illustrate that. And I remember like going on the Gettysburg battlefield for years, and I would see these ghost hunters going there, and they're going, it's in the dark, so they're going with their flashlights, and they're saying, could you turn this flashlight on? Well, they didn't have flashlights in the Civil War. Well, how would they know that? So I am only contextual to the time period, the practices of the time period, the social order of the time period, even the language of the time period, and all those little ethnicities that differentiate people and their culture one from another. I don't like the idea of just doing the same thing at every site, irregardless of variability and all these different parameters.
Yeah.
Do they still do that? I don't know.
The current landscape, at least, especially when I joined like TikTok and Instagram, getting more involved in social media and seeing what is like going viral. And you're right. It's the exact same thing over and over again. It's talking to the dark and it's asking questions into the darkness, sometimes just being downright offensive.
Oh, yeah,
it's just the same thing. Just the same thing
what
over
happened,
and over again.
What happened at Antietam? We were there specifically, and I had women, very important in the investigation. Women at Antietam, we went there specifically to find the remains of Lieutenant Colonel William Holmes from the 2nd Georgia, who was still buried on that battlefield. So we got women dressed up in 1860s clothing, went with lanterns along the stone wall by Burnside Bridge, using the names of the women who lived in his house in the 1860 census. And they went to look for Colonel Holmes, and they would say, Colonel Holmes, this is your Aunt Mary. Are you hurt? Where are you? I went there specifically to find him because his remains are still on that battlefield. But back in Georgia is a gravestone with his name on it, and it's empty. And we got hits, numerous hits from somebody as they were walking that said, over here. I'm here. And we marked that spot 3 or 4 times with different women doing it at different times, and it was the same spot. The National Park Service Ranger Superintendent was with us. I asked him specifically, could I come back with ground penetrating radar to see if there's a disturbance where this voice says he is, and see if that disturbance indicates the possibility of a burial? And if there is, I want to do a legitimate archaeological excavation at that spot, hopefully to find what remains of Lieutenant Colonel William Holmes, and ceremoniously take his remains back to where he should belong in Georgia at his gravesite.
Wow.
And what happened? I'm not qualified to do that. So I said, I have to get the specs of the ground penetrating radar. And he said, and the ranger said, give it to me. So about a month later, I finally got it, went to him and says, here it is. Here's the specs. And you know what he said? He said, that's it. No more. No more. We had these ghost hunters on the battlefield desecrating the memory of these soldiers who died. They're drinking and having all kinds of fun. So those ghost hunters missed our opportunity to recover the remains of Colonel William Holmes and bring him back home to Georgia. That's how I feel. So it really upsets me when these people on this battlefield just do entertainment just for the fun of it.
Yep, for the fun, for the clicks, for the likes, for the views, for the attention. Yeah, I keep hoping and I think we're kind of approaching a shift a little bit. I'm noticing some of these paranormal influencers, so to speak, are now veering away into other types of content now. Like they're doing other things. So I'm hoping maybe we're shifting a little bit and maybe reclaiming more serious, or at least more respectful, at the very least, because you can have fun and be respectful.
The problem was with that investigation that I didn't have control over. They let anybody do whatever they wanted, and I wasn't in full control of that, and that really made me mad. But I shut up because this guy paid this money and he was footing the bill for anything. So I feel I didn't want to.
Yeah, one of the people went a little too far, we think.
Yes,
and,
I was. You saw us. I was talking to him, and I was angry with this one guy. And then you came in because you were all dressed up, and I was going to tell you to do a scenario, but I was still trying to talk to him to calm down because I was really angry because he did not do what I wanted to do. And then they went out and did things that I was not in agreement with. And we might have missed an opportunity for a show because of that, because that was not what we usually do. But we had to conform because this guy foot the whole bill. And so I felt that, okay, it's his money, so I should do at least what he wanted me to do, basically. But so there was little bits and pieces of of a performance excavation, but not the controlled context that we wanted to do all the way through, just bits and pieces of it. So I remember that. I still remember that, and I will never have that happen again unless I have the control that I think should be done with the empathy. Because now again, I'm differentiating in like what's happening at the springs are not ghosts. These are revenants. They're not stuck there. They come back to relive memory. So a lot of these things I associate with revenants, that they come back. They're not stuck there. And that sort of proves the idea that where we have, for example, Edgar Allan Poe haunting 6 or 7 different sites in the United States. We have Anne Boleyn haunting 4 or 5 different places in the UK. If they were stuck in a certain place, how are they seen in other places? It's because they are not ghosts, they're revenants. And what is in each place is a different experience and memory of their biography in life. And that's what they're enacting in all the different things in all these different places that they are seen.
Nice. Love it. Love it. All right. Let's see. So everyone, I'm going to go ahead and post last call for questions. If you have any questions or comments, please post them in the chat. And let's see. John and Mary, what are you looking forward to most about the Paranormal Research Symposium?
Learning something new for me.
Seeing some of the other speakers and just meeting everybody.
Yeah.
Whoever comes to our panel, we'll be happy to talk to you and
Yes,
make it.
yeah. Hopefully, we won't get booed off the stage because we're a bunch of old fogies who have old ideas about doing things.
Oh my gosh, no, that would not happen. That would not happen. Oh my
Believe me, it has happened a lot.
Oh my gosh.
Not
Well,
recently, but it has happened. I go to a theoretical archaeology group conference, either in the United States or in Europe, and among archaeologists, they listen, they clap. Nobody says anything because they know what goes on, but they don't say it because they're still in academia. I'm retired, so I could say how I feel and what really happens.
Yeah, when they're affiliated with the university, they feel like they can't speak up during the presentation, but then afterwards they'll pull me aside and they'll say, well, this is what happened to me when I was at this dig site, and blah, blah, and they do that all the time with us.
Now, in all these 50 years of doing field work in archaeology, I had never encountered anything attach itself to me.
Neither
really?
And my first archaeological excavation was 1969 in Winchester, England. And there were 6 major archaeological excavations in Winchester, England at that time. And I was digging Willesey Palace, but we had another group that was digging right next to Winchester Cathedral, and there was they dug up this big pit. And that was the pit where they used to throw the bodies of all the dead who died from the plague during the Middle Ages. And they were digging deep into that, and nothing happened. There was no hauntings attaching itself or ghost attaching itself to those archaeologists. So, but the problem is all of these shows, it's all biased toward non-humans, like demons, evil presences. My idea is these are the people who come back because they had unique, positive experiences in their life in certain places. And based on that, they have really positive memories of their life in certain places. And they come back and revisit those places.
And I think also as well on the Civil War battlefield, we find that they're not upset. They want to tell you what happened to them because that's what people like to do. They want to talk about themselves and their experiences. So I don't look at it as a negative or an evil thing.
No, the whole idea is to bring closure. That's what I wanted to do to Lieutenant Colonel William Holmes. Bring closure. Bring his physical remains back home where it should be and not still on that battlefield. And they're still there because we couldn't do it.
Yeah. Wow. No, it's wonderful. Gosh, it's been too long since we've talked. So it's like I'm just taking everything in and just like, definitely aligned with everything.
You better catch me before I won't be able to walk. I'll be too old.
Please. You out.
We can pull you in Weekend at Bernie style. It's okay. All right.
Well, you never know. So if you see a crippled old guy coming up during the conference,
John,
you'll know who it is.
I'm the cripple. You're not.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. No, you're going to be coming in doing backflips. What are you talking about?
Yes. I wish.
A somersault.
I wish. I come walking through the house and I'm tripping all the time over the carpets.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, that reminds me. That's how old people die. They fall down the stairs.
It's like you fall, you break a hip. Yeah, no, I do the same thing though.
Yes. So hopefully, I got to watch when I'm going down the stairs.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I don't get pushed though. But this place is more active. Mary sees everything. I don't see anything.
Well, I haven't seen anything in a while because we haven't really been doing anything. I think when I start painting and doing some rearranging of furniture, some of the rooms, trying to get everything just clean out the house, because I'm semi-retired. I'm still working 2 days a week, but just trying to get the house in order because we were going to move at one time, but it's too long of a story. We're not going to be able to move right now.
The ghost will not let us leave.
Nice. Nice. All right. Well, I think we're coming to a little over the top of the hour. So, John, in the meantime, John and Mary, where can people find you if they would like to get in touch with you, order your books or anything like that?
Well, all my books are on academia. I mean, I'm sorry, on
Amazon.com.
Amazon.
Mine
I'm
too.
gonna have that and Mary's books as well. But also, I'm on that Academia EDU. I have like over 300 articles and
And then we
every
have the website.
and the website, but the chat in Academia EDU/John Sabol, and it's a free website. And I have the first, second chapters of all of my books there. I don't want to put a full book on there because I need to make a little money on the books.
Yeah.
But they're all there, and all the conferences I've done. Also, look up IMDb. Look at the movies I was in and stuff like that. That's on IMDb. But I don't have my photo there because they want a lot of money for that photo. So
They do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
That's
wild.
expensive.
yes,
And then our
Right.
website's ghostexcavation.com.
yes.
And if you want to get a hold of us, I guess to
It's
an email.
Yeah.
Email is
email Mary
well,
because my email doesn't
no,
come through.
I'd rather use yours
Oh,
because mine's my other name. So it's quicospirit@hotmail.com, and that's Quico, CUICO, and then the word spirit @hotmail.com.
hopefully it'll come through because a lot of stuff doesn't come through.
I know,
I don't know
that's
why.
what- yeah.
I don't know why.
I know. I realized you weren't getting my emails
Yeah, I
until
wasn't
I
getting
until I
anything. I don't
messaged
know.
Mary.
And I checked my what do you call it, junk file and stuff like that,
Mhm.
and there's nothing there either. I check that every day, and
Oh,
I get
no.
stuff saying I just sent you something, and okay, and I looked and it's not there. So I don't know what
Wow.
goes. It's the ghost. It's the ghost in the machine.
Gotta be. Yeah. Because I was
Yeah.
like, Mary, John's not replying or anything. And
Yes.
I was like, oh, yeah. So, no, it's like, I didn't accept you and then start ignoring you. Well, I'm glad.
No, we didn't get anything. We didn't know anything
That's
about that.
wild. That is wild. All right. Well, thank you both so much for taking time out of your evening to chat with me and letting our viewers get to know you and get a little bit of a hint of what to expect at your panel. I'm looking forward to it. I did just switch the schedule around so Brad can now go. Um,
And we
so,
can go see Brad.
Yeah.
yes, and now you can go see Brad. Yep, exactly.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it works out. All right. So let's see. Well, that is it, everyone. So, John, Mary, if you don't mind hanging out to after the show, we can chat a little bit after we go offline. But I want to say thank you so much to both of you for being here this evening. And I'm really looking forward to your panel at the symposium.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we want a lot. We want people to go there and just don't listen. Talk.
Yes.
Tell
Big
us
thing.
what you like and what you don't like.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Perfect. All right, everyone. That was John Sabol and Mary Becker. I am so thrilled that they are coming to the symposium. Like, it's good. Their panel is going to be fantastic. Yeah. So, little few more things to mention before I let you all go for the evening. Tickets are now available for the symposium. So, if you would like to see John and Mary, see their panel, and see all the other wonderful presentations that will be happening at the symposium, grab your tickets. Go to associationofparanormalstudy.com. You all will be explained right there where you can visit the website, and you can also check out the schedule. The schedule is now posted. I did just update it to make some accommodations for for some speakers who want to watch each other's presentations. Yeah. And then so next week, we will be having Amelia Cotter and Victoria J for next week's chat. So you can get a chance to hear what they have to say about their research, about what they're going to be presenting on. And finally, we're going to be back on Thursday evening. So we have our book club meeting coming this Thursday night. This month's book was A Haunted History of Invisible Women, True Stories of America's Ghosts by Leanna Renee Heber and Andrea James. So they're going to be joined by APS Core member Christy, and she will be chatting with them about their book. And if you read the book, even if you didn't read the book, you should come to the chat and see what Leanna and Andrea have to say. And that is it, everybody. We are going to be back next week, same time, same channel. We'll have Amelia Cotter and Victoria J. last reminder. And thank you all so much for coming to tonight's chat. Thank you for participating in the conversation. There's Brad with I love the yay. And I hope you all have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you all next week.